Oh, wow. Impressed us, eh? All right, team. Barry's demo!
All right. Thank you, Matthew. All right. Well, now how I am now and what I do, so we're not going to waste any time. I am really, really scared. I'm going to put it out there that what I'm about to do terrifies me because I have no idea what we're going to do. We're going to figure this out together. And live demos are pretty terrible at the best of times, but then put the power in your hands makes it even worse. And just to make it even more scary is only half an hour ago when I was trying to set up, things were not behaving. But hopefully we can boot this into gear and make it work. So we're going to vibe code.
What is vibe coding? Very valid question. Vibe coding is a software development technique where an individual is able to use natural language plugged into a large language model, and based off that, it's able to generate, build, execute, and debug code in order to build an application. Great approach to get going. Is not production ready from the get-go, so absolutely still want to include a subject matter expert or the app developer to give it the final review before going into production. All right, Barry, back to you. Now tell us about your childhood.
When I was a kid, there were these amazing books that you could get, which are adventure books. And you started on page 1 and you were given a scene and you were then given 3 different options. You know, go up the high path, go down the low path or through the tunnel. And that would take you off in a direction. And you keep following these pages to different pages in the book and you'd either die, which is probably what's going to happen today, or you got to the end and you were the hero. I love them. So we're going to try that here. We're going to all build the narrative of this demo together. And this will make sense in a moment. I have a library of 93 prompts, which when combined gives me 48 possible paths. I have only tested 2 of those paths. So I know those 2 worked, but there are 46 possible paths that I haven't tested. So as I said, I want you to get into the spirit of the intent. So if this doesn't work, at least give me some credit for trying. I don't think anyone's probably done a demo like this before, but we'll soon see. So what am I building with? We're going to be using Claude and the CLI, which is embedded with Sonnet as a model, and Cursor as the IDE. So I've combined all of those, and we'll give you all of the instructions later if you want to do this. The magic source is the AI Dev Kit. So that's what tells Claude how to use Databricks. So it knows how to use a dashboard, how to build a Genie room, how to build a whatever. And we need the command line. So it's operating on my laptop. So it's using the CLI to actually pass all of these commands across, okay? So that's the background of what we're going to be using. Everyone get your phones out. I need you to take a picture of this QR code because you're going to then do a survey, which is going to completely randomize the demo. I have got 3 industries. We've got banking, we've got utilities, and we've got public sector. That's sector. I'm not going to let you pick the sector. And then you're going to have 4 choices after that. A and B, A and B, A and B, A and B. And each of them takes us down a path the majority will get to dictate the prompt choice. Feels like I'm doing a magic show. All right, so we're going to go B. So let's go across to the actual vibe coded app, which I built ahead of time, and we are now going to be doing a utilities demo. Thank you for choosing utilities. So let's pick utilities. Right, what was our next choice? We're just going to plug these in. Crumbs. Nobody picked C, and that's because there was no C choice. Just checking, make sure you're paying attention. So we're going A, we're going B. Tell me what I'm picking here. So we're going B. Okay, and then we're going to build on top of that A or B.
You just go back and shop.
Oh, you guys are meant to see my screen. Okay, so it was A, B, A. All right, so what do we get? All right, let's see what we've got. So these are my prompts that I've ended up with. So you pick them. So if that goes wrong, it's your fault. All right, let's grab the first one. The first thing is that we are going to do a utility demo, and we need to actually set up a data-ready grid data set. And this is my prompt. So we'll copy that. Let's get this whole thing underway. We don't need that anymore. So here I'm in Claude. And let's paste it and see what happens. And there's a lot of waiting when you're doing this. Who's actually done vibe coding before like this? A few of you have. Okay, does that mean everyone's hand is down? This is the first time you're seeing this sort of stuff in any action? All right, so let's see what's going on. Hopefully we're going to connect to the right place. Check what environments I've got to get to. It's found my profile. It's verifying that the catalog exists, because if we go and have a look at the prompt, let's go look at the prompt while we're waiting for that to work. All right. Okay, so what are we asking it to do? Before starting, connect to this Databricks workspace, run all of your right authentications, and then using Databricks Unity Catalog, create a clean synthetic data set for New Zealand Electricity Network Authority, optimized for dashboarding. Create 2 tables, substations, and outage events, and keep the data clean. Give me a bit of a balance, write it as a delta table, add some comments, and so on. So where this is all going is into this Databricks workspace. And I have, if I go into catalog, this is the first step, was to create a catalog. Under my top one here, it has not yet created the workspace. So let's go back and see where Vibe's up to. All right, what are we up to? Looks good. The health breakdown is slightly off from target. So it's doing all of its thinking. So obviously it's going through a little bit of a, what am I actually building here from a data point of view? Getting the schema doesn't exist, so I'll write a Python script to create it. And its approach may change. That's the wonderful thing about these types of technologies, is they are not deterministic. If I ran this exact same prompt again, it could take a completely different path. So prompt engineering is a super important part in making it do what you want it to do. So let's just see where we're up to. How are we going? All right, well, we're looking like we're getting somewhere. It's actually now, and this is one thing you'll see. Quite often in vibe coding and Databricks, using this process, it'll try an approach, have an error, and it just keeps on trying to find a different path to the same outcome. So it looks at its homework and eventually usually gets there. So it doesn't like the workspace, try another way to work it. So that's the beauty of these technologies, is they eventually do, through brute force, get there. Let's go back and have a look. Get out of that. See if we've got anything yet. So we've got a schema. Thank goodness, at least part of the demo has worked, and we've got tables. So let's see if there's any data in the tables. Sample data. Select some compute, because we can't do it without some compute. Starting. Come on, give me some data, because this is a data demo. I need data. But hopefully you see the concept here, because if you think about doing this the old-fashioned way, if you're even prototyping, how quickly you can go from nothing to a working prototype. Think of it that way. Yes, we're sitting there watching code run. I could have bought a can of paint and put that up and we could watch that dry. This is a wee bit more exciting. All right, so that would appear to have been completed. It's still thinking. I'm not sure what it still thinks it's doing. It's probably just checking the data. Whilst that's doing that, let's go and look at the next part. So both run success. Next one is, what are we doing? We are building an AI BI dashboard over the top of the data. So let's grab this prompt and then we'll fire that at Claude. One thing I didn't do here in the actual initial setup, in setting up Claude, you can specify which model to use. It defaults, in this case, to Claude Sonnet 4.6. There are a couple of other live models I could have picked from within there. By the way, this is all doing it through an external CLI, right? So this is probably a approach, but if you want to do it the official approach, is to come back into Databricks, and you would be using this amazing thing, and I'll get that out of the way, called Genie code, which is now doing what I'm doing, but within Databricks instead, as opposed to outside of Databricks. Model-wise, you can choose your model with the setup of how you configure it, and you just don't have to use Claude with the AI Dev Kit. You can pick any number of tools, any number of models. This is the one we've been given access to at work. So we've got our table. So my first prompt worked. We'll just stay in this one. So this is now, let's go and create a Genie space over the top of it. Claude is very good at coding. That's another thing about it, that we go down the Claude path, because it's one of the best models for coding. And this is a very coding-centric use case. So this is using LLM, and right now it's interpreting this prompt and obviously figuring out from all of the library of skills it's got, which ones to use. So the skills is the magic sauce here that it's got. So we've infused the skills into this whole architecture, and that's its skill library to actually work with Databricks. So the combination of Claude and the skills from AI Dev Kit is what this is all based on. So just where we're up to on the second prompt, we're using Databricks AI. So we're building a dashboard to create a dashboard, and it wants a bunch of tiles, bunch of charts, some tables, and I'm giving it some rules to make sure that nothing breaks. So let's go back and have a look and see where we're at. It wants to use an MCP service, so it wants to use a tool. Should have let that, keep an eye on that before. So it's validated all the queries, so it's created 7 queries behind the scene to make sure that every query is bringing back a result set. And hopefully it starts building the dashboard. So let's go and have a look and see if it's actually started building a dashboard yet. So we go into dashboards, still hasn't started to build the dashboard. So it's found this create or update dashboard. Well, it's looking for the tool in the NCP service and it didn't find it, so it's going to probably look for it in the skill set. So it's trying to find the right skill to use to actually do the dashboard build. And this is where you spend a bit of time, is just watching it cook and crunch and spin and do all of its things it's doing. So this is the frustrating part of vibe coding, is waiting for things to happen. But it's at the same time quite interesting seeing the approach that it takes. Whilst we do that, let's go and have a look at what we got after the next one. So we're going to build a StreamLit app, which I was hoping not to have to do, which is to create a front end over this data set using Databricks apps. And that's, whilst I'm saying I was hoping I wouldn't do that, that's just because it takes more time usually. Now I picked StreamLit because it's a much faster app protocol versus something like React, which is a little bit more complicated and therefore takes a bit more time to get it right. But anyway, let's go back and see where we're at to. As I said, we get errors along the way, so that's to be expected, and it will figure that out, hopefully.
While it's cooking, I told Barry I'd bring a slew of Databricks information. So, is anyone familiar with the phrase "a jack of all trades is a master of none"? Or
That's me.
okay, do you know the second half of it?
Yeah, it's still better yet than a master of none.
Absolutely, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. Which parallels nicely with the level of open source and open protocols that we have for Databricks. We'll see if it's done honking. That's a new term that I haven't seen in tech before, but Barry, back to you.
All right, well, we now have been told that the dashboard has been successfully deployed, so let's go see. Please be a dashboard. Yay. Grid assets now, will it bring back any data? That's the real test, right? Is it going? So there you go. We've got a dashboard from a vibe code. So it's not a particularly pretty dashboard, but it's got stuff on it that looks like analytics. So I'll take that. It's a win. Right, now for the one that worries me. The StreamLit. Let's grab the prompt that you made me pick. We'll copy it and back to Claude. Here we go. Let's go and have a look at what it says in the prompt. Okay, so build a StreamLit application called Grid Monitor. Deploy it as a Databricks app using the clean 120 row substation data set that we created earlier. Now, hopefully you'd appreciate that I had to spend quite a lot of time in building this prompt library to make sure that logic prevailed. Do not build an artifact that's dependent on an artifact that's downstream. Everything had to be in place beforehand. And I iterated over the library about 4 times, seeing if there are any gaps until it stopped finding any. So because I only tested then 2 of these trails, which worked, I assumed it was okay. But as I said, we're doing 46 different paths here. So anyway, we're looking at substations, we're looking at log fields, we've even given some styling. By the way, I vibe coded the prompts, just in case you were wondering, because you wouldn't typically type this much out as a prompt. And it was quite good, because as you iterated through it and got an error, you figured out what would I have prompted differently to avoid that error, and inject that back into the prompt as a library. So the more you do this, the more you can get better at what you're building in terms of maintaining a really robust prompt library. So where are we at? So it's now building the app, pushing it up to the workspace and deploying. So in Databricks, if we go back to Databricks, you can see apps under compute at the moment. So if we click on compute, you've got things like Lakebase, which is our new Postgres database. But under apps, we have now got our new Vibe demo. No, we haven't got it yet. And the other one is my fictitious Wellington water utility one. So we still haven't got the app yet. So fingers crossed it shouldn't be too far away. How are we going? We're still on time. We might actually squeeze this in. We might squeeze it in.
I've had customers tell me that it costs millions of dollars to build this kind of stuff, and we're doing it in a pub.
Trying to get it done in 30 minutes.
In Wellington in 30 minutes of life. So even though this thing says working, it's working 1,000 times faster.
Well, that's the thing. Behind the scenes, obviously, there's a lot of abstraction going on in terms of what the LLM is doing and working out its strategy. So it would be nice to be able to get deep into the weeds and see what it means by these very long words. But hopefully it shouldn't be too far away. So it is creating the app, is what it's claiming it's doing. So we'll see if there's any evidence of that yet. Because an app creation does have 2 phases to it. There's build the app and then actually publish the app, which does take a little bit of time. So let's refresh. Do we have an app? Come on, give me an app. I need 3 lines. We have an app and it's starting. Well, at least it looks like we're getting somewhere.
And the AI did that with.
Yep.
How many skills is Databricks engineering going through?
It's a pretty long library. So this is the dev kit. So you can Google this. And under here you've got, well, if you go down to the README, it talks about all of the high level artifacts it can build. So in this case, like we can build pipelines, jobs to orchestrate those pipelines, dashboards, which you've already seen, building tables inside Unity, which we've seen. We haven't got a Genie space unless it comes up in the last prompt. ML flow, so data science. So these are all specific skill sets. And you've got down here the ability to put in the whole lot or start going in and doing specific skills. And you can add your own skills because it's just got a whole lot of it. You can replicate what's in there. Not that in Databricks you need to, because we've got a pretty well covered from a Databricks point of view. But anyway, that's what you need to do is go and Google AI Dev Kit. They're prompt instructions and tools that in MCP servers that work with the CLI. So Databricks command line interface gets sent instructions in a very particular way. So it knows how to call the CLI to go and set up the JSON package behind it. So it gives it all the right instructions on how to form the prompt and then call the CLI accordingly. So that's all it is. It's just telling Databricks from there. All right, let's see if we're actually up and running. We are running. So let's go and click on the app. And this is where it sometimes goes to custard authentication problems or something. Are we going to be lucky? Come on. See, this is paint drying 101. Traceback. Awesome. All right, so this is actually good. There we go. We'll take a lemon and we'll make lemonade out of it. All right, so I'm going to grab that and see what actually is going on. So we're going to go back and actually troubleshoot this and see if we can fix it. So get an error. See what it says. Now, it thinks it knows. That's the thing with AI is it's emphatic that when it finds the answer to the problem, I've got the answer. And often it doesn't. So you've got to go through this process multiple times sometimes until you finally do get the answer. But the problem is clear. Of course it's clear. So we'll see what it says and hopefully we'll fix it pretty quickly. Now, ready deploy. But this is vibe coding. You are literally having this interactive experience with Claude and yelling at it. Okay, let's go and see if we've actually fixed the problem. Fingers crossed. And then we can call it at the end of this because I think everyone gets the idea. There was one more step, and it's still not doing it. So it was totally convinced it was okay, so it's got a permission problem now. So I'm going to tell it, I know what I want it to do. I think it's authenticating with the service principal and not with me. So I'm going to tell it to authenticate with me. Use my account to connect. Don't use service principal. See if that fixes it.
How long will this normally take for someone to develop?
I couldn't do this myself. I'm not an app developer, so I can't answer that question because I don't know how to develop applications. But if you look at the code behind this, there's a huge amount of code to be input. And this is probably the biggest area we've seen AI being used, is massive amount of pre-concept application development, because you would never take this and build production systems. You would take it 80% of the way with AI and then use an expert to make sure that everything finally works. But you can keep iterating until you get it right. You can just keep on coding it. So we'll see if this fixes it. And if this, we'll stop at the end of this. I've got one more prompt, which was, out of interest, what was my last prompt? Add a home tab. Well, it's a bit boring with a map. So I could obviously, on this particular app, it's just saying, look, put on another screen on this one. That was where this one ended up. So we probably aren't really achieving much more at that point. So let's try one more time. All right, fingers crossed, final try, please. Nah, I'm going to have to keep going on it until I finally crack it. It's more a case of just perseverance, really. And that's all I'll be doing, is just going backwards and forwards until I finally get it. And then once you figure out what's wrong, you bake that back into your prompt library. So don't try and do that again. If you can kind of ask it once it's finished, what was the original problem and what did you eventually come to as a solution? Give me the prompt that I can use next time I actually try and set something up like this that avoids that problem, and follow that best practice from now on. You get the vibe. Any other questions?
As a bit of a bow on it too, in a sense, at the AI at the Beehive last year, the CISO for Kiwi Bank had made a great statement regarding AI, right? The theme was AI at the Beehive. You'd hope he'd say something about it. And the lens was this. And he comes from a very scientific background, and he talked about AI in the sense of, if you have a hypothesis and you proved it correct the first time as a scientist, you would go, I don't know if I trust that, right? It's shocking when you get it right the first time, and then you would validate, and in this case, penetration test, all sorts of layers to it. And I bring that up because this is a great instance of this, where you have a bit of a hypothesis, have a go. If we'd got it in the first go with both live and an interactive demo, we all would have gone, well, first of all, well played. Well played! The hypothesis is correct. Forget everything I said. Take that, hypotheses. Yeah.
Test it.
Yeah, I mean, the takeaway is try again until you finally get it to work, right? So anyway, thank you for sitting through that and helping me with what was a very random and extremely dangerous thing to do, but we got 90% of the way there in the end, so thank you.
The fact that we were able to do this in, like I said, like 40 minutes, Barry's had a drink, like
Lime and lemonade.
Oh, good man. But we're doing this on the fly. The fact that we're spinning up infrastructure, we're building applications, we're creating dashboards, all of this is happening in Databricks without any sitting down and actually writing any code. This is completely, like, I'm a salesperson, I don't even understand how to see. I do this for customers. The fact that we can democratize the ability to develop and ideate and things, think about the scale and the scope of what that means across your business. Instead of your data teams being continuously bombarded with requests for dashboards, or I've got an idea, can we try and do this? Being able to push this out and say, hey, have a go, see what you can do, develop, and if the idea or the concept lands, come back to us and we'll make sure that it's watertight if it's something that's going to deliver value to the business. So the fact that we're kind of in this space, like I said, in a pub, vibe coding in the middle of a demo, and we can do this and actually produce an application at the end of it, we wouldn't have been able to do this 6 months ago, let alone think about doing this in your organizations or into production in the future as fast as we are. And the fact that we can fail fast and all of a sudden ideate, remediate, and come up with a working application at the end of it. I don't know about you guys, I think it's pretty cool.
Pretty chuffed about
Pretty
it.
chuffed.
Well done, Barry. Way to take a risk. We love it. As a bit of a wrap too, as you can tell, as a team and an organization, we get to have a lot of fun at Databricks, and it's largely because we're really confident and delighted by the technology, and then getting to see what it actually does in the hands of organizations that we work with. As I've made no small show of, Barry and myself and Casey in the back, we're part of the public sector team, so in government too, we get to see folks sink their teeth into this and sprint in a contained, wholesome environment to go deliver for outcomes for citizens of Aotearoa. So it's an incredibly rewarding realm to be in, and then we see that with other industries we work with across New Zealand, which is a real pleasure. As a bit of a takeaway, so Databricks, we have a lot of events across New Zealand, so yes in Wellington, but if you have peers in Hamilton, in Invercargill, in Auckland, we're all over the show, so please keep an eye out for that. A bit of a view just in terms of how the events work. Anything that's in the morning is usually a bit more on the technical side. So if there's folks within your organizations who are really hands-on keyboards, getting into the nitty-gritty, those morning workshops are a great opportunity. Free, show up, grab a scone, learn something. In the evening too, we'll have either product updates, we'll have demos like this, which will either be quite technical or from a business user high level. We do have a learning festival coming up in Auckland, so there's no shortage of things. If there's something in Databricks you're keen to learn more about, flick us a note, right? We'll create what you're asking for. Something we didn't even talk about that just launched yesterday is Lake Watch. So Databricks is getting into the security game, so something to have a wee Google of, and we'll probably cover off in the next meetup. But we really appreciate the time you take because it is after hours from a work point of view. It's you investing not only in your organization, but also career building, right? Because the more feathers in the cap and exposure you have, whenever someone goes, anyone know about this Databricks situation? You know, you can be the first person to put their hand up. So really appreciate you giving us the time. We don't play hard to get, so if you have questions, we'll absolutely be around, but grab some food, grab a drink, and thank you for joining us this evening. Appreciate it.
And we got a final weapon.
Awesome.
I did though.